Very pleased to be joined here at Blogging the Boys by the dashing, the debonair, the internationally famous. He smells incredible. He is set to play James Bond whenever Daniel Craig officially gives it up. If that hasn't happened already, I'm a bit in the unknown as far as that is concerned. From the Gold Standard Network, but more importantly, from deep inside your corazones, it is one of my very good friends, Rob Stats Guerrera. Stats, great to see you, man. Football is so stupid.
First of all, RJ, you're supposed to keep the James Bond news on the DL, okay?
My bad.
Chill with that. Even though everything you said is 100% true. Are we about to watch a mid-off on Sunday Night Football?
So for anyone who's unaware, first of all, how dare you be unaware? Stats covers the 49ers better than anybody in the game. He is my go-to NFL source, go-to live source in a lot of ways, but go-to 49ers source if you are getting uber specific. The Gold Standard Network, the best place to find any kind of San Francisco 49ers content. Stats and his staff do an amazing job, so go check that out. That's why he is here to talk, or that is what he is here to talk about. Stats, I mentioned this in an article earlier this week. The Cowboys have been flexed out of Sunday Night Football once before. You and I talked about it a lot at the time. It was 4 years ago, a 2020 matchup between the Cowboys and 49ers that got moved to, I think it was noon. I can't remember if it was 3 o'clock, but it was that was the mid-off. So this is approaching, this is closer to that end of the spectrum, I would say.
The 49ers season is on the line. If they lose to the Cowboys, like, pack it up, it is over. That is the attitude that they have to have. That is the way that they need to play. That's just the facts of the situation. They can't lose this game. And with the way they've been playing, they just might.
So I hope I'm not revealing anything too personal. I'm not going to dox you, Stats, and tell everybody your phone number. But on Monday at 5:47 p.m. Central Standard Time, the best time zone, you texted me and said you are beating the Niners. Now, this was when Deebo Samuel was still in the hospital. Thank God he's been discharged, as I understand. So hopefully all is well. Nobody ever roots for injuries, and if you do, get a grip. But either way, you have been king of not being afraid of the Dallas Cowboys for as long as I've known you, which has been this run, unfortunately, for me. And this is the first time I've seen you with your tail tucked between your legs, although I have to imagine it really has nothing to do with who the Cowboys are and everything to do with who the Niners are.
I'm still not afraid of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm terrified of the San Francisco 49ers. They have been playing with their food all season long. They will be going up and down the field. They'll score a touchdown. They'll be going up and down the field. They'll get to the red zone. They'll have a chance to make it a 2-score game, or multiple times this year, a 3-score game, a chance to really put the game in a headlock, right? And really tilt the game script in the exact situation they want, where you're up by multiple scores, the other team can't run the ball, and really step on a team. And every single time that they have had an opportunity to do it, not only have they not done it, but a lot of times they do the worst possible thing and turn the ball over and leave the door wide open for the other team to walk through, like the Rams did when they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, like the Cardinals did when they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, like the Patriots almost did. And then against the Chiefs, they decided to change up the script and just never really lead for much of the game. And they lost that one too.
Look, I understand everything you're saying. And the reason what I'm most upset about with the Cowboys these days, like if I had to like power rank the things I'm angry at them for, number one is that they have ruined my ability to enjoy this, to enjoy like Nick Sirianni's meltdown that he had a few weeks ago, to be able to point at the Saquon quote and call it, scripted and fake and not actually real or authentic. Like I don't have the energy to do that. I don't even feel like I have the ground to stand on to do things like that. So I'm mad at the Cowboys that they've ruined my ability to point and to ridicule. And so that being said, while I completely understand everything you're saying in having watched the Niners, I still think that they're a better team. I mean, this is the term playing with their food is also a Cowboysism. We've seen that from Dallas, and obviously you and I have talked about them in the past. There was that game against the Broncos in 2021. Like they've always had that kind of game where they just got waxed for no reason that made any kind of logical sense. And to your point, San Francisco's kind of on a run like that. But at the end of the day, this is still daddy for the Niners against baby. Like, and the way I put it after the Cowboys got spanked by the Lions, I don't mean to just stick with a disciplinary sort of theme here, is this isn't only daddy who the Cowboys are going to visit. This is daddy after Daddy got a call from the teacher that the homework was late and that the test was flunked and that they were acting up in class. Right? Like this is kid getting home from school and dad's never home. This like seeing dad's car out front. Like why are they home? Like what's going on? And just walking in and the parents sitting on the living room furniture, just staring at the doorway. Do you are you aware of the perceived advantages that the 49ers have in this game in an objective sense?
I can think of the advantages the 49ers have.
Yeah, so I just sent you this on Instagram right now if you want to pull it up so you have it to look at. The folks over at NFL Pro do a great job in their game-by-game model. And if you slide over a few slides in what I sent you, this isn't me being self-serving and sending you my Instagram post. This is just the best way to get this information to you. The perceived advantages from a rushing and passing standpoint all lend in favor of the Niners. Again, I think that any Cowboys fan who's watching this is saying like, yeah, dude, I know you're down, but like your team is still going to wipe the floor with these dudes. Now, these are two teams that are a mess. Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy have the highest rate of tight window throws so far in the NFL, which I think from the Cowboys perspective is representative of not having proper talent. From the Niners perspective, it is maybe getting a little too cute with things, which has dug different holes for them that they're currently trying to find themselves out of.
It's interesting because the two refrains I hear from Niner fans are either Kyle has to get back to doing 49er things in 49er football. And at the same time, people are saying Kyle's scheme is played out. People have figured him out. He needs to evolve. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute. Which is it? Does he need to change or does he need to go back to what he used to do? I think clearly he has evolved. I think what has happened is that the 49ers saw different coverages this year. The teams were finally, after 7 years, teams were like, you're not going to beat us with yak. We are going to make you throw the ball down the field in tight windows in man coverage. And that is exactly what Brock Purdy did for the early part of the season. He was playing really well. I made the argument he was playing better than any quarterback in the league. I thought he was playing the game on difficult mode. He was making deep throws in tight windows against man coverage, and he was not turning the football over that much. That came to a screeching halt in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He has been bad. His interceptions against the Chiefs on Sunday were hideously bad. 3 interceptions, all in Chiefs territory, 1 in the end zone into double coverage. The other one cost them a chance to try a 52-yard field goal that would have given them the lead in the third quarter. And the first one he threw immediately after you stopped the Chiefs, who ran a ridiculous fake punt that got stopped. First play, Brock Purdy forces a ball down the field as a safety is just waiting for him to release the ball and immediately turns the ball back over to Kansas City. The 49ers way too often this year have let other teams off the hook for their mistakes. And this Niners team is not the big bad bully. They're not the team that is just going to knock you around and upside down and laugh when they've conquered and won to go autumn wind is a raider on you. That's not who they are. They're not good enough to play with their food and not make teams pay for their mistakes. And they haven't this year, and it's bit them in the ass.
I've seen this criticism from you, obviously, all season long. You have called them front runners in the past, and you talked about what was the Debo quote about how they were like the best team in the NFL or whatever, and you were like, you didn't win anything, like you can't we all recognize that they're like the silver place medalist dynasty, whatever, over the last champions. Yeah, but the Chiefs exist. Like I hate to be that blunt about it, but that's what I'm most terrified about because when the Cowboys play the Lions, I equated it to there being a bit of a little brother energy there. And I don't know how you feel as an objective person there. But with the way the game between the two teams ended last year with the penalty and whatnot, and obviously Dallas beat Detroit in the playoffs now a decade ago, like there is a little bit of like, we want to prove that we're better than you stuff to them. And I think the Cowboys have that going on with the Niners. And I think the Niners nowadays have that going on with the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs are their daddy, and they just lost to Kansas City. And it's another reminder of like, man, we would have this kingdom if not for this one team and this one player. And so what better than the little brother to come to town right now to feel tall? That's why, like, again, I'm not disputing or denying anything that you're saying, but name me the thing on the Cowboys side of things that you're like shaking in your boots about right now. Like, what is it?
Special teams. The Cowboys special teams, they're number 1 in DVOA. The Niners dead last. The Niners special teams, RJ, are hideously bad. They give up 18 yards per punt return, worst in the league. Every game this year, there has been a special teams play you could point to that has been a complete disaster. Against the Chiefs, Brandon Ayuk, the Niners are driving in Chiefs territory and they're looking good. It's 3rd and 2, and Brock lays a beautiful ball to Brandon Ayuk on 3rd and 2 where he could catch it and run and maybe score. Ayuk drops it. Niners have to punt. They punt to Mecole Hardman. 3 guys on the Niners return team fall down, and Mecole Hardman runs 55 yards up the sideline, and the Chiefs start to drive at the Niners' 30-yard line. Guess how that one ended? The special teams are bad. They've had a punt block this year. Anders Carlson is their kicker. He's their 3rd kicker. Stunner of all stunners. He missed an extra point on Sunday. Who could have predicted that? Oh, wait. Anyone that's ever seen him kick a football ever? That's where they are. Their special teams on the margins. The 49ers are awful. Dallas is great. It's going to be a factor on Sunday. Book it.
Look, I'm not here to doubt DVOA. Had Aaron Schatz on the channel in the conversation last week. And so big DVOA believer right here. But while I don't know the full mathematical methodology behind calculating special teams DVOA, I would assume and I would argue that Brandon Aubrey is doing an enormous amount of that lifting, right? Like we all understand that Brandon Aubrey is an amazing kicker. He might be the best kicker in the NFL right now. He's got a 60-yarder this year. Like that is a lot of the work. Like I'm not, again, poo-pooing what the Cowboys can do outside of that from a special team standpoint. But I also will offer, like, if the thing you're telling me is like the ace up my sleeve is the special teams, like you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like, you know, that I'm really walking into this bad. Like it feels like you're Mace Windu with the cool purple lightsaber, and I just have like the little baby one that they give to the younglings. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a fair fight. Or you're Darth Maul with the like double-edged one or something like that. Like it isn't. I can't tell you a time. You've seen me at like really low points as far as my Cowboys fandom. I cannot tell you a time that has been this bad, that has been this toxic, that has been this universally acknowledged to be poor. And that's where, okay, cool. Maybe the Cowboys rip off a like 61-yard punt return or something like that. Maybe they even score on special teams. They can't do enough outside of that. Mike McCarthy, who you love, has had to take the ball to start games after winning coin tosses because he knows if we get down early, that's it. Like even if we get down into a 7-0 hole, it is too steep for us to climb out of. It remains to be seen whether or not Micah Parsons or Deron Bland are going to play. Just for full context, Stats and I are talking on Wednesday, October 23rd. So no injury report has actually come out for the week right now. But I mean, on offense or special teams, who do the Cowboys have that you're like, oh God, I mean, watch out? Because I would offer all those dudes are on your side.
Yeah, and honestly, like I know CeeDee Lamb is awesome, but the Niners corners, Charvarius Ward actually played really well last week after struggling. He's gotten a little healthier, and Deommodore Lenoir is awesome right now. He is one of the few young guys on the Niners where the arrow is pointing up. He is kicking ass. So CeeDee Lamb is going to have his work cut out for him. I will say that. For what it's worth, the injury report for the Niners came out. Here's who didn't practice today for the 49ers.
Okay.
Debo, Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, George Odom, Trent Williams. Now, at least Trent Williams was a vet day, so that he's not injured. Also, Jordan Mason and Nick Bosa were limited with injuries. So, yeah, it's just a festival right now for San Francisco, RJ. I could make the argument. The freshest wide receiver that the 49ers have is the guy that just got shot in the chest 50-plus days ago.
All that's fair, but there's no way that you're going to convince me. Maybe you're convincing somebody who's watching, but there's no way you're going to convince me that the Cowboys have a shot here. You know what I mean? Like it's just not possible. And of the players you listed, though, who are the ones, before you get to your point, that are, in your estimation, not going to play? I would offer Debo and Kittle maybe, as far as significant needle movers are concerned.
Debo is definitely the biggest, the most doubtful, I would say. I mean, he was just in the hospital with pneumonia. So we got to really see on that. Kittle, I don't know. He's lit. It's possible, but I feel like all those guys will eventually find a way onto the field. I could be wrong, and God help us if we're wrong, because then it's really going to be a bunch of rookies. It's going to be Jordan Mason, Jacob Cowing, who's really good but has barely played, Ricky Pearsall, and a banged-up Jordan Mason. That's going to be the 49ers offense.
Jordan Mason, though, has forced the most missed tackles in the NFL this season. The Cowboys have the highest rate of missed tackle percentages as far as tackle opportunities in the NFL. The way I put this,
very good.
Well, the way I put this on social is like it's literally unstoppable force meets like highly movable objects. Like meets like object with like zero friction resistance on ice. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like this is one of the worst defenses in the NFL. This is one of two teams. I'm forgetting the full stat off the top of my head, but with like negative total EPA on both sides of the ball outside of Carolina and New England. That's the company that the Cowboys are in here.
So okay, like I was going to ask you that. What are the problems with the Cowboys right now?
I think in a general sense, right? Like if you brought the car into the shop, like I can immediately see like the doors are off and, and like the tires like are flat, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like smoking, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, like maybe one mirror is on or whatever, but like from just a like, you know, piece ingredient standpoint, like they don't have enough. They have Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, who they waited forever to pay, quite literally till the 11th hour. In case anybody forgot, they literally paid Dak Prescott on the day the season started. Like I hope for your sake that you don't experience that, because it was exhausting. So they delayed all of that, and they self-handicapped their ability to. They didn't self-handicap. They could have still signed people if they wanted to, but they used that excuse as an excuse, obviously. But so it's Dak, it's CeeDee, it's a little bit of Jake Ferguson. That's kind of it. From a running game perspective, it is the worst run game in the NFL by far. They have the fewest team rush yards over expected. I believe it's minus 126. I think the next closest team is the Miami Dolphins at like minus 83. Like this is like people are like, hey, stats, here are some lemons, make lemonade. Like this is like chopped, but they make the worst possible things, right? Like they don't turn them into good meals. It's just like it's the chefs being like, dude, you gave me Fruit Loops and baking soda. Like, what do you really expect me to make right here? And obviously having all these injuries is not helping the cause. And then on top of that, look, I have defended Mike McCarthy for a very long time, and you and I have sparred many, many, many times on that front. I'm not like having abandoned ship, but who he is right now and what is happening here, and I will admit he was not set up very well. I think even you would objectively agree with that. I mean, it's all broken. It is very difficult to find a singular thing to hang your hat on for this team, except for the like all-world kicker.
So, yeah, I would think what I would say is like Mike McCarthy looks like this year, the guy that I have been telling you Mike McCarthy is, even though maybe in past years he hasn't been that guy that I've described.
I think you were always unfair to Mike McCarthy. And I think prior to this season, I think you were unfair. And I think, and I said these exact words to you, and I've said them many times, he lost a very public PR battle to Aaron Rodgers at the peak of like the power that he had hoarded. And so everybody at that moment in time agreed with Aaron. And even despite all we've learned about that in the years since, there's nobody who's willing to be like, maybe McCarthy deserves like a crumb of credit for what happened in Green Bay. You know what I mean? Like, nope, nobody is willing to offer that. And I will attest that he turned this team not into anything special. That nobody's hanging a banner or having a parade, but they have been a playoff team for 3 years in a row. They have become a seriously consistent football operation in the regular season, obviously. And his 3 playoff losses have come to teams who we all regard to be like very, very, very special. 2 of them were to your team, who we all agree would be a dynasty if not for Patrick Mahomes. And the other to Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, the guy we acknowledge is like the next up and coming dude. So we can't like fully contextualize who Mike McCarthy is as a football society, but all that aside, what he has done this year is not helping anybody out whatsoever. Troy Aikman, I don't know if you saw this last week, bashed the route running of the team. Like it's very difficult to say like, well, they have that one thing. And if that one thing hits, then they might have a shot in this game. Cause I don't know what that one thing is.
Isn't it Dak? Isn't it supposed to be Dak?
It is. And it's annoying because people say like, well, he got paid all the money, so it has to be Dak. Like, we're actually talking on the day that the Chiefs, who we've thrown a lot of flowers at already, traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Like the Chiefs have that guy, and they're like, well, you know what would help this guy? Like some actual help. You know what I mean? Like even Patrick Mahomes needs help.
Mahomes was bad on Sunday against the 49ers. He was bad. He threw 2 terrible interceptions. He was like, the Niners were gifting him as many things as possible, and he was not good. The Niners very easily could have won that game. He needed help. So good for the Chiefs because they made a move that they needed to make. But you're right. Like even Patrick Mahomes need guys around him.
And to the point I made earlier, and I believe in Brock Purdy. I know that's a like volatile subject, but Dak and Purdy have the highest tight window throw percentage across the entire NFL. Like if anyone's being asked to make lemonade right now, it's them. And nobody can sustain that. By the way, you mentioned the injury report coming out. Brandon Aubrey missed practice on Wednesday for the Cowboys, and nobody understood why. Well, he's fine before you get all hopeful because you're a weirdo who roots for injuries. But I've never seen this happen in the NFL. So you tell me if you have, he was at jury duty.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow. You think he could just throw that? Has he ever served jury duty in his life? You think he's just like, I'm a professional football player?
I think it's just a professional. Like what because there's that time where they're like, if you have a time commitment, you don't feel like you can serve on this case, whatever, like, please raise your hand or whatever. Like somebody's like, oh, I'm a surgeon. I have procedures scheduled next Tuesday or whatever. He's like, oh, we're going to be in San Francisco on Sunday. I'm being in Atlanta next week. Like, it's really not a a viable thing for it's interesting situation. But
here's why I don't like Brandon Aubrey, because every time Jake Moody misses a field goal, I get inundated. Brandon Aubrey was undrafted. Why? He's the best kicker in the league. Why'd you draft him? It's intolerable to me. So I dislike him just because
he is that annoying example. Like, I mean, but that has existed for everybody. Like, oh man, well, Kurt Warner was undrafted. Why don't you just go get one of those? Tony Romo, Dak Prescott was the fourth. Brock Purdy, you could do the last pick of the draft. You know what I mean? Like, they've annoyed a lot of people just by who they are. Here's my question on behalf of Cowboys fans. It's my opinion that if Dallas were to win this game, and I've picked the Niners to be very clear, if that isn't obvious, but if Dallas were to win, this is not like put the mount on the wall, baby. We did it. We finally beat Kyle Shanahan and the Niners. By the way, they have not won the Cowboys, since they had kicking issues. That game that Dan Bailey had to miss and Jeff Heath had to emergency kick in his place. That was 7 years ago. I don't know if you remember that. It was fun. Fun for us, but not for you. Anyway, I don't think this is a game where you can feel good. Like, you beat the 49ers. Is that fair on your end?
100%. This is by far the weakest version of this sort of Shanahan core year. I mean, first of all, Debo may not play. Ayuk's definitely not playing. Kittle may not play. McCaffrey's definitely not playing. So, like, think about that. Think about that's what, 4 all-pros? Ayuk was second team, so whatever you want to do with that is fine. But, like, those are the guys that are not going to be there or probably won't be there. That's a tremendous loss of just pure talent. So this is by far the weakest version of this core group. So, look, you should never apologize for a win by any stretch of the imagination. I don't care if the 49ers win this game because Dak Prescott intentionally takes a safety on the last play of the game. Like, I'll take the win and we'll get the hell out of Dodge. But this is not the Cowboys. And it's crazy because last year I went to the game at Levi's.
Right.
It was the first and only NFL game I have ever been to. And that was the first time that was the first time ever last year where I came out of that game and I said, they're going to the Super Bowl. Like, they looked so good. They could have hung more on the Cowboys that day. They came out. Shanahan was running trick flea flickers for touchdowns. Like, it meant something to them. They had a fire and a passion, and they made a statement. And they have not really had that fire and that passion all year long this year. It just hasn't been there. Call it a Super Bowl hangover. Call it whatever you want. I just don't know if they have much left in the tank. We'll find out, because if they don't win, like I said, the season is over, and you may see some trades. You may see a Debo trade before the deadline. You could see something, assuming that he can get back and play. So it's a big game.
I think it's a playoff attrition hangover. We were talking about this a few months ago, and you kind of equated. Actually, it was the night or the day that the Astros got swept by the Tigers, and you said something like, "I can't help but think that the Niners could be in a similar situation." Like, the Astros had played like 30 playoff games at that point in time, like through their run, obviously all the ALCS appearances and the 2 World Series titles. Miss me with whatever you want to talk about. Brian Cashman in 2017. What a loser. Like, you're in the World Series, dude. Like, and Clayton Kershaw. Like, I mean, like, seriously, be more rent-free, but whatever. Anyway, and I felt like, and we talked about it at the time, like, you did see it, like, for at least for the stalwarts, like the Altuves and the Bregmans. It's like, dude, they've played a million playoff games. Like being in these high stress environments over and over and over again just wears on you. And I think it's probably hard to get up for like an October game if you're the Niners at this point in time. Like, you've been to so many title games and so many divisional round playoff games, and you've beat the crap out of this team so many times. Like, it's so difficult to be like, oh, another Chiefs game. Oh man, like, whatever. Like, this is just impossible. I will say the energy you talked about that the Niners had last year that you saw in person, that's exactly how Detroit wiped the floor with Dallas 2 weeks ago. Like, it was just like that. And it was petty, and it was awesome. Like, it was so cool how they were like, we're going to rub your nose in this because we had to sit on it for an entire year. And so
they ran a hook and ladder play for a tackle. Like, that is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen in an NFL game. That is like, I've always wanted to run this play on Madden, and now I want to see what happened. Like, that is incredibly disrespectful.
But and the Cowboys let it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the team that like the troublesome Niners draw this week against, or right before their bye week. So that's why, like, I would offer, like, from a San Francisco perspective, because I know you're going to share this with your audience, like, you get this win, you get to 500, like, you have very much stopped the bleeding. But what I would offer on the other side of that is, if you lose to this Cowboys team, it's over. Like, it's over. Like, this is really, like, the clock has struck midnight. The stagecoach is back to a pumpkin. Like, you have to start thinking about 2025 and beyond.
if you are a Cowboys fan and you're worried about the hype and stuff, like I will say this, if it is Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall and Jordan Mason, all those guys are super young and super hungry. And especially with Pearsall, just because of
Dude,
everything.
180 yards, easy. 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Easy.
If he makes a big play, Levi's is going to explode. When he caught his first pass last week, the stadium went nuts. Like those 3 guys may be able to give the Niners a little bit of juice because they haven't been out there. So that could be a way that the Niners maybe get a little life. But other than that, it's been kind of lifeless.
Well, this was very annoying to me, but do you recall in the World Series 5 years ago when the Nationals beat the Astros, all the like Juan Soto's like 12 years old thing that we heard like over and over and over again? Like what Ricky Pearsall went through was horrible, and I certainly don't mean to make light of it, but like, couldn't you just see like Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth like just lavishing him with praise with this like it has the like fitting for that kind of game, like a massive performance, and like however you said it's 50 something days ago, whatever it's been, like 56 days ago, this guy was, all this stuff and telling the story, and then just showing like as they go to commercial with the carry like theme behind it, like just touchdown after touchdown, big catch after big catch. Like I can see it. I don't have to squint that hard.
I just hope they don't go into any messy metaphors, right? Like we don't need any of that.
Yeah. I mean, what he went through was traumatic. Like like I said, we don't need to make light of it. And it's a miracle that he's even gonna, playing football at this point.
A miracle that he's alive.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Shanahan in the emergency room, 1 out of 100 people survives this. And not only did he survive, he didn't have surgery. He's playing football 50. It's like going to be like 60 days later at that point.
He's Wolverine. He's Deadpool. I haven't seen that movie. Have you?
I did.
Was it good?
Was it fun? Yes. Was it good?
That's the quality of analysis that we look to Rob Stats Guerrera for. Anything else about this game that you think, you want to think, you're unsure if you think, you need an answer to?
It's Wednesday. You said you're not sure about Micah Parsons if he's going to play. What would be the way? How can the 49ers offense attack this defense?
So the way to short circuit the Cowboys has proven to be motion, pre-snap motion. It is there is speaking of Chris Collinsworth, there's a quote I go back to often from a time he was on NFL Total Access when he was talking about play action, and there used to be the like age-old like you have to establish the run for play action to work, blah blah. And he has this quote where he says play action is effective regardless of how you're running the football. And he was like, it is about the defender's reaction to that thought, however minuscule, however microscopic that is the advantage that you create when you run play action. Call it eye candy, call it whatever you want. And that's what pre-snap motion is. The Cowboys cannot handle it. And before the Lions game, I forget what the stat was off the top of my head, but Sam Laporta had like dominated a pre-snap motion, and he had, I think, 1 target in that game. It was like a 47-yard touchdown, and of course, it wasn't off of pre-snap motion. Like it was perfect. They just cannot handle it. It's a different defensive coordinator, different defensive scheme, different defensive players, but it has proven to be true time and time again against Kyle Shanahan, against Mike McDaniel. Not so much against the Sean McVay tree. The Cowboys have kind of managed to hold off a little bit there. I know there's some crossover with Matt LaFleur, but he's dominated. Anything involving any modern offensive elements, which is a really weird way to put this, is the way to attack them.
Well, that's encouraging because the 49ers love pre-snap motion. They move them around. They move Kyle Juszczyk all over the place. So that bodes well for San Francisco. I really hope like just get back to the smart things. Give me the checkdowns. Brock has not been taking the checkdowns. He's been going for the doubles over the singles, which is what I love about him. But he's veered too much in that direction now. Take a profit. Nobody ever went broke taking a profit. Just don't screw it up. Move the ball down the field.
That's what I'm saying. Pre-snap motion, dump it off. This is the defense in the NFL who struggles the most at tackling in the game of professional football in the United States of America. So, you know what I'm saying? Like put your playmakers in positions to succeed, and there will be more fruit from the tree than there isn't, is my kind of point. It's truly that simple. And I would also offer lean into the narrative. Like remember last year how much the Cowboys, and I tried to like quieted as best as I could, or tried to pretend it didn't exist as best as I could when they were like, "Oh, we'll see who we really are when we go to San Francisco," only for them to get blasted. Now they have been very quiet about this game. They've obviously learned their lesson, but they know. How could anybody not know? Like, how could anybody not know that the Kyle Shanahan tree owns them? And this isn't like one of the big branches. This is the stump. Like, this is the tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's one of the big trees in Lord of the Rings that like walks and picks people up. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what?
The Ents. That's what those trees are called.
Are you a Lord of the Rings person?
No, but I know that they're the Ents.
How do you know that?
I know of the Lord of the Rings. I don't particularly enjoy those movies or the books, but I know that's what they're called.
What about the show? The show is pretty good. Rings of Power show.
Don't watch it.
You know, you waste your time with all these weird shows that you watch, and you don't have time for Rings of Power.
Yep. I think I just can't get past the just throw the ring away. Throw it away.
See, I've offered many times that the Cowboys are like they live in Middle Earth right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I for a long time have thought that Dak is Frodo. Like, he's the one who can finally deliver this ring there and ultimately end this. But I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of Sams out there. You know what I mean? It's hard to find your Frodo.
Well, the thing is with Lord of the Rings, Sam is the hero of that story. It's not Frodo. Frodo wouldn't do anything. Frodo didn't even give up the ring. He and his big chance when Sam literally picks him up and carries him up the mountain because Frodo can't do it anymore. He finally gets him there, and then in his big moment when he's supposed to be the guy that can give up the ring, he still doesn't. Smeagol pops up and bites it off his finger. That's how they get rid of the ring.
I will say that the like primary point of the story is like light versus evil, good versus darkness, and the power of friendship. And Sam embodies that more than anybody.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, so, like, and he's always respectful, Mr. Frodo. You know what I mean?
No, he's unquestionably the hero of the story. He's friggin' phenomenal. When he says, "I'll carry you," you can literally go on YouTube and watch the reactions to that scene, and people just lose it. They just cry immediately. Wow. That's the kind of dude he is, and he doesn't get the love.
This feels like the right note to end on because it was a really negative experience to talk about this for me. It was somewhat cathartic, but not as much as I would have hoped. So yeah, I'm prepared for the worst. But the Cowboys have been on Sunday Night Football once this year, and they won, and it got delayed. I don't know if you remember that.
I'm going to be up till 3 a.m. anyway. Please, no delays.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else you want to add about this game? Anything at all?
No, that's it. Go Niners.
I don't think that the Cowboys will fire Mike McCarthy midseason but like, it's just because I don't think Jerry wants to pay him to not work. But this feels very similar in a vibes perspective to the game that they went into when they fired Wade Phillips. I don't know if you recall that. It was a Sunday night game. They went to Green Bay, of all places, and got blasted by Mike McCarthy's Green Bay Packers, who went on to win the Super Bowl. Oh, dude, the details here, it's like, I mean, you couldn't write this. Like, Sam could not exist in this universe. It's too great of writing. You know, even Tolkien couldn't have hit this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that unbelievable.
If I told you that Jerry Jones had already interviewed Bill Belichick for the head coaching job, would you be at all surprised?
My thing on Jerry Jones at this point in time is I am past the point of assigning logic to anything. So like what you're offering is like, and I was very excited for this conversation because I love you in general, but also because I knew it would turn into like just kind of a like still alive autopsy of the Cowboys and Niners. I'm sure there's a word for that, like a medical word, but like people have for months, like almost a full year, tried to logic the all in, right? Well, what he really meant was like what all in actually meant is whatever. And what I've said is like all in was just a thing he said. Like they were just words that he said out loud. And whether they meant anything or contradicted anything is really irrelevant, like to him, which is ultimately what matters the most here. Like people always think like, well, he said this last week and he said it now and it's contradicting. You think he cares? Like you really like he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. It's all meaningless. We are all just kind of floating in the abyss, and that's it. It's like Fast and the Furious 12. Like you can't believe it's still going on, but it is. So like I believe that Jerry Jones has an interest in hiring Bill Belichick because who wouldn't outside of the Atlanta Falcons? like, so I guess I kind of agree or believe what you said. Like, but I don't think it's like an official sort of thing. And even then, I would have a very difficult time getting excited about it.
Mm. Yeah.
Let me actually ask you one last thing to serve the Cowboys audience. What would have to happen for whether it's this game or in a month or 2 months or over the offseason for you to go like, okay, I'm a little bit afraid of the Cowboys now. Wow. The disrespect.
Yeah, like I said it going into the Chiefs game. I said, until the 49ers beat the Chiefs, why would you ever think that they could beat them? Like, why? What have we seen? It was 4 straight going into Sunday that they had beaten them. I couldn't believe the line when it came out and the Chiefs were getting
free
points.
money.
I ran to make that bet. That was the biggest bet I've made this season, and it'll be the biggest one.
The Niners were favored for anyone who didn't, for the Cowboys fans who didn't know. It was like 3.5 point favorites, I think. It was stupid, or 2.5. It was ridiculous.
By the time I got there, it had already gone down to 1.5, but I still got points, which was insane. And so that's how I feel about Niners Cowboys. The Niners are to the Cowboys, but the Chiefs are to the 49ers.
I actually don't think that that's properly true, because like the Chiefs have to like stand up, you know what I mean, to fight the Niners, you know what I mean, like they have to sweat, like they break a sweat, you know what I mean, like the Niners are like, okay, let me get this over with real quick, you know what I mean, like this is the Globetrotters and the Generals. That's what this is.
Wow. See, this is why for the 49ers audience listening to this is why I like RJ, because I feel like he's like me, the most honest and objective analyzer of what is happening with the team. And if you can't do what RJ just did for a team that you cover, you shouldn't be covering them. And y'all 49ers fans know exactly who I'm talking about. Cough, cough. David Lombardi. Cough, cough. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be covering a team.
Wow. Well, to end on a positive note, what is a show or a movie that you do recommend that you have seen or are currently watching? I like to ask this question to people.
Right now I'm watching Agatha All Along. Marvel, not bad, not the best thing. I actually just am about to finish Young Sheldon, which was like, I couldn't believe I really would like it as much.
My wife loved it, and she would be sitting there like watching it and like go through all these emotions. I was like, the little kid show, like, you know, like I was kind of interested. Yep. Okay,
I just put it on like, all right, because I would see clips online, and I was like, let me try an episode or two, and then I was like, you know what, this is pretty good, and I watched it on Netflix, and then the last season wasn't on Netflix. And I was like, what the hell? But then it is on Max, which, okay, great. So now I'm finishing the last season on Max. I feel like I'm doing something weird with Netflix. Like, don't tell Netflix I'm finishing this on Max. Very strange.
On the Agatha thing, it really says a lot about where Disney and Marvel have fallen, that like, it's not bad, it's passable. You know what I mean? Like they were like willing to be like, oh, it's not bad. Like I'm willing to give it my time. Like that's a really far, you know, place removed from where they used to be content.
That's exactly where the 49ers Marvel, they're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe phase of their team building, right? It's still there. They can still have some good ones once in a while, but it's really not what it once was.
I think if the Niners are Agatha, then that makes the Cowboys like what was the show? Was it like Secret Invasion or whatever? You know what I'm talking about? Yep. Where they brought I don't want to say who, because I don't want to like ruin anything for anybody.
Samuel Jackson was like the primary guy in the show.
Right. No, but they brought a different character, a side character throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and killed them like right away for like no reason. Like they brought them back just to, like nothing about what that show was made sense. And then they made I forget her name, but the actress who was in Game of Thrones, they made her like the most powerful Marvel person of all time, like to ever live or walk the planet or live in any universe at the end of it all. It was like, oh, this just makes sense. Like that's the Cowboys. Like that's all in, whatever, blah, blah. So you didn't ask what I'm watching or what I recommend, but that's fine. Whatever.
So. Don't care.
I actually am really looking for a show. It's a gaping hole for me. Like I really want something. I've thought about giving Abbott Elementary a spin. But as I understand it, and this is where like my Cowboy sickness ultimately is my downfall. I believe it's like Philadelphia based, and they reference the Eagles sometimes, and I just don't want that.
Yeah, they just did a crossover with Always Sunny.
I just don't need that in my life. You know what I mean? Like
fair.
So I'll find something. You know
I want to watch that show Chaos on Netflix, where Jeff Goldblum is Zeus, and there's like all the Greek gods in the show, and like they have to try to get people to praise them again or something. I don't know. It looks weird, but I do like Jeff Goldblum.
Is there a more iconic Jeff Goldblum line than "Life Finds a Way"?
No. Nope.
Wow. Well, life will find a way on Sunday night. It will be on the San Francisco side. I can promise you that. Stats, plug away, please. Gold Standard Network, go.
Yeah, thank you. If you want to know about the 49ers from what I would consider the most objective source of 49ers news, please check us out. Just search Gold Standard 49ers on YouTube or search Gold Standard 49ers or wherever you get good audio podcasts will pop right up. I always say, just give us one show and I promise we'll continue to earn your time. And I think this week you will be pleasantly surprised by what you find. We have a 5-minute news update that comes out every morning with just press conference clips, injury reports, radio interviews, everything you need to know about the team you get in 5 minutes or less. So if you check out nothing else, check out 49ers in 5, and I think you'll like what you see.
49ers in 5 is cool, but Stats and Eggs was a lot better.
Disagree.
He is on Twitter, Instagram. I haven't seen you threadsing a lot. You need to get on Threads.
I am on there, but I never posted there.
That's what I'm saying. He's at Stats on Fire. And if anybody thinks he named himself Stats, you're wrong and you're stupid. Do you want to tell that? I don't know that I've ever let you tell that story here very briefly as we leave. So everyone knows like where it came from.
Yeah, no, I did not call myself Stats. You can't give yourself a nickname. That's terrible. I got it when I was an intern at ESPN Radio, and I got it from one Todd McShay because one of my first jobs as an intern was to hand radio hosts stats that came on the TV. And somebody asked him, "Who's that kid in the studio with you?" And he said, "I don't know, Stats," because that's what I did for him. So that's how I got the nickname.
And a legend was born.
Exactly.